Hey guys, Geek into everyone. On this video I'm gonna tell you how to create incremental and differential backups with tar. Tar is one of the most useful utilities in the Linux. With tar we can create archives which can be used for various purposes, to package application source code, for example, or to create and store data backups. In this tutorial video we focus on creating backups and we see how to create full, incremental and differential backups with tar. Before we see how to use tar to create incremental and differential backups, it is important to understand the difference between these types of backups. First of all, we have to say that both incremental and differential backups are ultimately based on full or level 0 backups. A full backup is a backup which contains all the content of a specific file system in a determinate point in time. Creating full backups potentially requires a lot of time and space on the disk. As a solution, incremental and differential backup strategies can be implemented. Firstly, we create initial full backup and then we can use only incremental or differential backup, which include only file system changes. Let's talk about what is the difference between incremental and differential backups. Incremental and differential backups are similar, as we already said. They both are based on full backups. But what is the difference between these backups? An incremental backup is always dependent and based on the backup which immediately precedes it, either full or incremental itself. A differential backup instead uses always the initial full backup as a base. So the example of an incremental backup strategy. Let's suppose we want to create weekly backup. As a first thing, on Monday, we would create a full backup of the source directory. The next day, Tuesday, we would create a new backup, which would contain only files and directories which were created or modified in the source directory since the full backup occurred. The new backup will also keep track of files which were deleted ever since. It is what is called a level 1 backup. On Wednesday, we would create a third backup, which in turn will keep track of all the differences which occurred since the backup we performed on Tuesday. This backup will therefore be dependent on the previous one directly and indirectly on the first backup. We would keep on repeating the pattern for the rest of the week. If some disaster should happen on Thursday, for example, to restore the file system status we had on Wednesday, we would need to restore in order all the backups we made since Monday. Losing one backup makes impossible to restore the ones which come after it. Example of a differential backup strategy. An initial full backup is also the very first thing we need to do if we decided to implement a strategy based on differential backups. The level 0 backup is created on Monday and one containing only the differences between it and current status of the source directory is made on Tuesday. Until this point, there are no difference with the incremental backup strategy. Things change from the next day on. On Wednesday, instead of creating a backup based on the one we made on previous day, we would create one which is again based on the initial full backup we made on Monday. We perform the same action the subsequent weekdays. As you can see, in a differential backup strategy, each backup depends on the initial full backup. Therefore, to restore the state of the file system had on a certain day, we only need the initial full backup and the backup made on that day. So let's see on the practical example how we can create incremental backups and differential backups. Firstly, let's start with the incremental backups. To create incremental backups with tar, all we have to do is to combine two options. Let's see what option we have to use. Type tar --help. By this command, you can see some information about tar command, included syntax and information about options. First option is a -c or --create, which create a new archives. Second option -g or --listed incremental. This option handle new GNU format incremental backup. Let's see on the practical example. Let's clear the terminal. So there are two directories on my current working directory. First directory called data. There is some data inside this directory. Let's check it out. There are two files called file1 and file2 inside the data directory. So we're gonna do incremental backup of this directory data. And we're gonna store this backup inside another directory called backup. So let's do that. So we have to type this command. You can see a syntax on your screen now. Let's clarify some info about this command. First option, the option help us to see on the output detailed information when we run this command. Second option, C option. This option specify what we want to do is to create an archive. Last option, F option, specify the path where we want to create the archive, and we specify the path here, and we specify the path here. We want to create backup 0.tar. Then -g option. This option instructed tar to create a differential backup and store file system metadata in the file, this file, incremental snar. So it's a snapshot actually. And last path specify the directory we want to backup. In our case, it's a data directory. So let's press enter. Okay, on the output you can see some detailed information what's going on when we run this command. Okay, let's check the backup directory. Okay, as you can see, there are two files. First one is backup 0.tar and next one incremental.snar. Backup 0.tar is the initial full backup, and incremental.snar is the snapshot which have a metadata about which has a metadata of file system we backup. Let's create another file into data directory. It's gonna be file 3. Okay, let's check. So there is another file named file 3. So let's run tar command again, but we have to change the name of the destination archive. Let's find the command and rename the backup 0.tar archive into backup 1.archive. So let's press enter. Okay. On the output, you can see some detailed information what's going on when we run this command. You can see that new file 3 was archiving. When we launching the command, the content of the incremental snar file is overwritten with metadata about the current status of source directory. To keep performing incremental backups, all we need to do is keep in following this pattern. So if we want to do a third backup, we have to change the name of archive. It's going to be second, for example. Yeah, and no new information changed. So each new archive will contain only changes in the source directory which occurred since the previous backup was made. So let's create another file into data directory, file 4, and let's change the file 1. Okay, ls data, there is file 4, and let's check the content inside file 1. Okay, there are some logs inside this file, and I edited this file by adding one expression, hello geeks. Let's create another backup. Okay, it's gonna be backup 3.tar. We change the name, don't forget. Press enter. On the output you can see there is a file 1 where we change the content inside, and file 4, which is a new file, were archiving. And if you check the backup directory, as you can see, there is a snapshot where the metadata of file system is stored, and there are 4 backups. Initial backup is a backup 0. So first backup is a backup 1, second backup, and third backup. We backup using incremental strategy. Each new archive, this one and this one and this one, contains only changes in the source directory which occurred since previous backup was made. Let's clear the terminal. Let's create a differential backup. Let's create another directory, backup 1. So creating incremental backups with tar is pretty easy, and creating differential backup is easy as well. All we need to change is how to handle the snapshot file. I already mentioned the difference between differential and incremental backups, that the former are always based on full backups. On the incremental backup, the content of the snapshot file is overwritten with metadata information, but when we implement in differential backup, we need to create a copy of the snapshot file generated when the full backup was made and pass it inside the command with the specific option. The original snapshot remains untouched. Okay, let's find the command we already use invoking incremental backup. So we change the directory where we want to store the backup. It's going to be backup 1. We want to store snapshot also into backup 1 directory. So everything else we can leave like that. So let's press enter. So on the output you can see some detailed information when this command running. If we check backup 1 directory, you can see there is a full initial backup, backup 1, and snapshot with the metadata information of source directory. Before creating the first differential backup, we need to create a copy of snapshot file. So let's copy it. Backup 1, incremental. Like that. Okay, we copy it. So let's create a file into data directory. Okay. There is a new file, file 5. So let's create another backup. So what we need to do is use a copy of the snapshot file. And then we have to create another archive. So let's press enter. Okay, let's check. As you can see, there are two files. First one had the metadata of initial backup. Second one had the metadata of the second backup, backup 1. And backup1.tar is the differential backup. Each differential backup contains only changes in source directory which occurred since initial full backup was made. Okay. One more time, if you create another file, file 6, and you have to copy the first snapshot. It's gonna be 2, and let's create the backup. It's gonna be backup 2nd. So press enter. Okay, let's clear the terminal. Okay, and each new archive after the first full initial backup contains only changes in source directory which occurred since the first initial one backup was made. Let's clear the terminal. Next part is about restoring a backup. Restoring backup is really easy step. During this video we were backupping the data from this directory, data directory. Let's remove all content inside this directory. Okay. There is no content inside this directory, as you see. So if you want to restore a backup, you have to use a tar command and you have to extract the information from archive you created. So, and what you need to do is to run the command which extract the information from the specific backup file. So you have to use star Firstly, regarding both strategies, incremental backup and differential backup, we need to extract initial backup because we deleted all data. Firstly, we have to start with the initial full backup. In my case, it's the name of backup 0. Okay. By this command, you extract the content from this backup, from this file. Let's take a look for options. First option, minus uppercase C option. This option says tar moves into the given directory before starting the extraction. So before extraction, the tar moves into the root directory. I specify here. Second option, X option. So by this option we perform the extraction. Next option, V option. By this option we can see detailed information when we run in this command. Last option, F option, specify the path of the archive to be extracted. So we specify this archive to be extracted. It's an initial full backup. So let's press enter. Okay, so let's check it out. What is the content inside data directory? ls data. There are 4 files. As you remember, we created another differential backups. Let's check it out. There is a backup 1 and backup 2. Let's extract backup 2. Okay. Backup 2. Press enter. On output you can see there are 2 files, file 5 and file 6 were extracted. Let's check. Yes, And you can see on the data directory there are 6 files. So this is about differential backups. So we already seen how to restore from the differential backup and restore from incremental backup almost the same. If there is situation exists on the specific day, we need to restore all backups that we created since the full backup was created until the one created on that specific day. Thanks guys for watching this video. I hope you like it. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Thanks. Ciao ciao.